Welcome to China Focus. I'm Shelley Zhang. A lawyer detained for defending his client. That's what happened to Wang Quanzhang. He's a Beijing lawyer who took on the case of Zhu Yanian, a 68-year-old practitioner of the Falun Gong spiritual practice, which is banned in China. Now, Zhu was taken by police after they searched and found Falun Gong materials in his home. His lawyer, Wang, argued that the court was violating the law by assuming Zhu was guilty, and Wang himself was taken away after trying to take pictures of his own evidence. Now, in some ways, it's not surprising, as Falun Gong is a taboo topic in China, and lawyers are harassed and persecuted by authorities for taking on Falun Gong cases. But it's what happened afterwards that was unusual. More than 130 lawyers signed a letter, and hundreds of people even protested outside the court, demanding Wang's release. Now, after that, Wang was eventually released after serving less than 3 days of his 10-day sentence. What does this mean for Falun Gong in China? Here today to talk about this, we have Chen Zhifei and Jason Ma. So, why did Wang Quanzhang's case attract so much attention?
I think, first of all, it's a success release within 3 days, and also the widespread support across different areas, people, net citizen, attorney, and also even some judge begin to say what the judge did over there was wrong.
But how did so many people learn about this case in the first place? Because it wasn't just that his case attracted attention after he was released, but before he was released.
Okay, I think the venues for the quick dissemination of the news is also very diverse and striking in its nature and scope. You can easily get the news coverage in the Chinese microblog. As we know, 30% of microblog posts were eliminated, deleted, but not in this case. In my situation, I first came across a report from an English language South Chinese Morning Post, which was based in Hong Kong, a publication having dubious quality because it's a venue, because
it's
closeness.
Some controversy.
Yeah, exactly. Editorial board defected to Asian Wall Street Journal, stuff like that. But they described Falun Gong as a spiritual movement, and they pretty much criticized the handling, the way it was handled by the Chinese authority, which was striking to me as well.
So let me go back to what you said. Like it was on Weibo that a lot of people learned about this.
Right.
But isn't this something that's pretty much too sensitive to talk about on Weibo?
No, I guess the people kind of bravely talk about it. And the most amazing thing is their Weibo was there without be deleting. I mean, I was following a couple people. I first got this name, Wang Quanzhang, even don't know the background. People begin to discuss it. And then I begin to Google and search, and then begin to learn all the background knowledge. So basically, Weibo did play a pretty important role to spread the message around and also organize people, like different people, like why the kind of 100 people signed a petition letter, one like nearly 300 people get to the city. And so it's all because of this internet and Weibo. And the amazing thing is the internet was tightly controlled by the Chinese government, but they were not working on this case to delete all the...
Does that mean there was somebody saying, don't delete this? Because it is true that if you even type the words Falun Gong into, the internet...
Well, they didn't mention Falun Gong,
okay.
But when I kind of read the Weibo message, it's only about the right of this lawyer, this Wang Quanzhang. Mm-hmm. There's nothing about kind of Falun Gong, but when I do more research, I found, he is representing Falun Gong practitioners. So now I realize, how big this whole thing is, because although people are not really directly talk for Falun Gong, but they are talk for the defendant attorney of Falun Gong, and which is somewhat kind of indirectly because before that, everything have any relationship with Falun Gong is a taboo.
So do you think that, again, that means that somebody was saying specifically don't erase these Weibo posts? You can talk about Wang Quanzhang?
Yeah, if you think they would follow their norm of operation, then those posts have been long deleted and nobody would be granted the right to post any similar posts. I myself didn't check the Weibo, but after I found out what happened with this lawyer Wang Quanzhang, I did search some overseas Falun Gong websites like Clear Wisdom, and I was startled. I was stunned that Wang Quanzhang stood out as one prominent figure because since 2002, he has on a couple of occasions defended the Falun Gong and been put under some kind of persecution all the time. This time he was lucky. He was only given a very light kind of tap on the wrist, a slap on the wrist, because he was ordered to be under some kind of house arrest. But on previous cases, house arrest, I mean, he was put in a hotel room with TV, with AC. On previous cases, he was slapped on the face by the judge publicly, and there were also car accidents that were attempted at his life. So this time it means he had been treated pretty well. Still, the public anger directed authority was very dramatic. I thought that represented some general shift in the public sentiment as well as the legal system in China.
But I do believe the reason this started because the lawyer in China, they begin to realize their professions is threatened generally by all these incidents. For example, we know Li Zhuang was arrested in Chongqing and arrested for 2 years. Like 2 years ago, there is another case in Jiangxi province. There is Yang Zaixing. He is also a lawyer. He was arrested and put in jail for 1.5 years.
But those cases didn't have to do with Falun Gong.
No,
right?
no, that didn't have to do with Falun Gong. But generally speaking, for many lawyers, they can see clearly this is a kind of very risky business right now in China because the court can arbitrarily detain them. So I guess at least some of the supporters to Wang Quanzhang's case is out of their own kind of reason. They think, I have to support this guy, no matter what he's representing.
Some of the lawyers were saying that, in that open letter that like if you let this slide, how can people have faith in the rule of law in China if you treat a lawyer this way in court?
But still, they are taking a lot of risk because if you look at the past, one prominent lawyer working for Falun Gong's interest is Dr. Gao Zhisheng, widely reported as one of the human rights heroes in China, and still his whereabouts was unknown. Believed to be somewhere.
He's in prison.
In many years. Right. So in that sense, the rallying of support of so many lawyers was unprecedented.
I was going to ask about that because the issue of the rights lawyers has been going on for a few years as well. Like Gao Zhisheng, he was very active, back in 2005, 2006 or so. So his case, when he came out to defend Falun Gong practitioners, that was like the first wave of these lawyers kind of not just Falun Gong, but talking about, rights issues in general.
Exactly. I think generally speaking, when Gao Zhisheng was prosecuted by the Chinese regime, not many lawyers come out for him. And it's just like a general public and speak for him. But lawyers were quiet. And they were protecting themselves. But in this case, although Wang Quanzhang is also defending Falun Gong practitioners, a lot of lawyers come out to speak for Wang Quanzhang. I think that's the major shifting of...
That's why a lot of people are getting curious about this case, that it represents a watershed moment in the whole Chinese legal system. Because if you look at Falun Gong as a kind of litmus test, touchstone kind of cases, Falun Gong's crackdown has experienced under 3 government regimes. Started with Jiang and then Hu Wen and now Xi Jinping and Li Keqiang. So there got to be some change. Gao Zhisheng's case was largely occurred during the Hu Wen and Jiang's period. So are there any changes? And since Hu Wen took power, we have seen some loosening, because there have been some rhetoric about reform in China's Laogai or Gulag system.
You mean Xi Jinping?
Xi Jinping and Li Keqiang took power. The Gulag system was notorious in China, known as re-education or Laogai. So there have been some talk about eliminating, abolishing, or reforming that. Now there was also this lawyer who have successfully defended this right, which were trampled upon in the past. So that's probably another turn of the event or development.
I mean, you can see kind of things like this happen before in other issues, like, for example, forced demolition of people's homes. Like maybe one person protests a lot, like a lot of people rally to them. There's like a protest in a village or something like that, and they'll be lenient in that case. But on the larger scale, there's still, forced demolition across the country. So in this case, just because this one lawyer was released, does that signal like loosening against rights lawyers?
No, I don't think so. I mean, basically, all we are talking about is the kind of upper level government was not kind of use a kind of a firm hand to crack down all this kind of voice. That's something a little bit new, but we can't really carry that too far.
But still it's aberration, because if they stick to the norm as established by Zhang, Hu Jintao, and Wen Jiabao, then what we have talked about will not happen. That is, that we will not see articles published in South China Morning Post publicly discussing this case. We will not see those microblog posts discussing this case, because they will be either non-existent or eliminated. So I think this is about some comprehensive change, starting with the censorship, starting with the media. So that's why I'm a little bit optimistic or hopeful of some positive change.
So what's happened after Wang's release? Has there been any kind of movement in his client's case, Zhu Yanian?
Right now the focus is still about Wang Quanzhang, but I guess some other lawyers said if Zhu Yanian didn't really dismiss Wang Quanzhang as his defendant lawyer, he still is his legal representative. So the case should be still kind of move on. But all the lawyers saying they should move this case out of this court, because there is no way for this court to have an unbiased judgment.
I still think it's probably give us a rare glimpse into the political calculus of the new regime on how to handle Falun Gong, which was a legacy from the past regimes, past administrations. It's really a thorn in the side, as we know. Millions, if not hundreds of millions of people have been set up as public enemy without any good reason. It's really political baggage. And it's very costly to give them a political reinstitution, because definitely they will face some backlash from John Clark, from a lot of conservative forces, party factions within. So an easier way out probably is to resort to some kind of legal reformation to downplay the Falun Gong, or even give them one way out. Because as Jason described it, the persecution against Falun Gong had no legal base from day one. And if you look at what happened to this Falun Gong defendant, Zhu Yanian, he was 68 years old, senior citizen. He was deprived the right to sleep for 3 nights in a row. He was put close to the vent of the AC so that she had to endure the freezing cold throughout 3-day period in the winter time. This is outright human rights abuse. So it didn't take too much for the legal system to correct, redress this kind of grievances. And by doing that, actually, a lot of Falun Gong practitioners, probably a majority of them, up to 80%, would not be subjected to any kind of surveillance or persecution. And that would somehow diminish the political baggage they have to carry.
Right, I guess the major thing is this defendant, the Falun Gong practitioner, Zhu, all his crime is he has some Falun Gong material at his home. So basically, even within the Chinese law, that's not something like a crime. So I guess the key kind of here is whether this whole event have a bigger indication, like whether they are going to lose up about Falun Gong, whether they are going to, as we interpret it, use their current legal system to lose up the persecution of Falun Gong.
Without directly kind of redressing
it? Redresses as a kind of announce, like from now.
So you're saying maybe instead of saying we were wrong about Falun Gong, it's not banned anymore, they will just kind of quietly
ask all the local judge, court, rule Falun Gong case based on the law instead of based on the up order. Because at this moment, 100% of Falun Gong case is by kind of all the lawyer knows you can't define Falun Gong. If you define Falun Gong, you can't define as a no kind of innocence case. So you have to admit they are wrong. So, but this Wang Quanzhang defined this Falun Gong practitioner Zhu Yanian as an innocent person. So in this case, he's touching the historical kind of Jiang and Hu Wen ages. Taboo, baseline. And if they allow him to do this and end up this case according to Chinese law and release Zhu as innocent person, so it's a way to say we will not pursue Falun Gong.
So that could be the big indicator
That's
here.
a bigger indicator.
Okay, well, unfortunately, we're out of time today to talk about this, but thank you guys for both weighing in on this issue, and thank you for watching. We'd love to hear what you think. You can send any questions or comments to the email address below, or leave us a YouTube comment. Thanks for watching.